some tardy people. Like, then start within 15 minutes, the class is canceled. I wanted to thank everybody that has me here today. I did this talk about 2 years ago, and I guess it changed the world. Anyway, no, Claudia wanted me to come back. So I'm doing recruiting, but I don't want to go Monday because I see everybody that I need to see here right now. So I'll do an introduction. My presentation is called "The Devil is in the Detail." And then I can answer questions for however long you guys want to answer, as long as we're allowed to. Last time it seemed like forever, but I'll talk about anything. So, without further ado, my name is John Templin. I am old. Terry found my 5th year project, so if you really need to see it, how great it is, I think it's over in Burris.
I think it's in the conference room.
It's in the conference room.
To Matt's office.
Like, is this guy legit or not? I do like photography, so when I lived in Korea in 2009 to 2014, and I was single and happy, I basically would go out and photograph all the time. So this was a Sunday morning in Hongdae, where Jae-young probably hung out all the time. And it's kind of the cool place. And for some reason, I probably didn't go to sleep that night. And these 3 characters were walking down the street. And I was just like, yeah, I got to get a photo of that. So I enjoy street photography. So I picked it up over there. And so I had every camera ever made because Korea is amazing. I was an intern in 1998 in a firm called Ivy Harrison Walls, which was interdisciplinary, so civil planning and landscape. I just wanted to get out of Virginia. I had nothing else to do. So I can tell you a crazy story back when the internet wasn't around and how I was asked to sleep with the foot of some creepy old man's bed on a leopard cot with a shower in there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But I consider myself a map man, so I could drive you there today, even though I got out of there so fast. Anyway, I liked it so much, I actually came back to Ivy Harrison Walls. They were doing a lot of themed entertainment, so I would go to Disney and do some moonlighting because everything happens at Disney between midnight and 6 o'clock in the morning. So I got to do some really cool projects over there. I asked for a raise and didn't get it, so I moved to Gliding Jackson. They are still considered probably one of the best firms that was in Orlando. They closed down and got eaten by AECOM in 2010. I was laid off in 2009. Thankfully, it's the best decision because I went to Korea after that to teach English. So, oh, there it is. Moved to Korea. So, I needed a break at that point, and it was awesome. So if you guys ever need a break, like, I don't know if you guys are gonna like take time off to go travel after you graduate, I highly encourage it. It's harder to do when you're older. I always was checking to see when the economy would kind of get back up. So every year I signed a 1-year contract, and finally in 2014, I was able to work for VOA, and they got eaten by Stantec, which is another big company, Canadian company. I miss having Boxing Day off. They had a couple extra holidays that were really nice that us Americans don't get. But VOA was a very heavy themed entertainment. When I came in there, I started working on Disney Springs and did the details for the hardscape on that. That went so well that I was asked to throw my hat in the ring to be a hardscape guy for the Star Wars project at Hollywood Studios, which I declined. I was at SNME. I thought I got that out. I was chasing kind of a title, so I became a principal over there. It's not as glorious. I encourage you guys don't to chase titles. Titles will come, fame will come, all that stuff. Just do good work. And now I'm at GAI. So a lot of these guys at GAI, which they created a branch called CSG, which is the Community Solutions Group. So it's planning, economics, entitlements, landscape architecture. A lot of these guys I worked with there. So Denver Garden Bridge, they have dinner. So I was promised a job. As soon as I couldn't get a job while I went back to Korea, I had 1 week. So key projects down in Miami, the design district. It's kind of where all the money is, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, everything. These cloud structures were developed by a French artist, and they have to, have the claim to fame. Nobody ever works on it except for them. And you'll realize that when you start getting themed entertainment, if you do, that you never do any work. It's always Disney. It's always Universal. So if you ever want to talk about themed entertainment with me, I'd be more than happy to do that. Stone Creek was probably one of those projects that changed my life. We brought these boulders in from New York to Ocala and built this $1 million something entry feature for a retirement community that's adjacent to the Villages, which is pretty much its own world. So this is competing with that, but I think we did a pretty good job. That was kind of Pulte Homestead Web. I did a presentation to the Florida ASLA on how to use Revit in landscape architecture construction documents. So my boss at the time at VO or Stantec said, well, you should do a talk. And I said, well, if I do a talk, I'm either going to give away secrets or I'm going to get a new job. So I was asked though after that, because all the Disney executives are on there because they always want to have BIM. So Universal, you need to start learning that in order to work for themed entertainment as a third-party consultant. So basically, because of that project and Disney people, the head of ASLA was in there. I was put on the project here, which was kind of scaled down where Moana is now, and I was running the BIM for them. So VOA Stantec had the architecture, they were the architect of record. And so I was a liaison between the Disney Imagineers and the architects, which were us. And then I did some stuff, we did some high level stuff in China. So you take it to a DD level, DD level, and then you give it to a Chinese company and they take it from there. So those are a few. I've also done 4 Legoland hotels. I'm probably the only landscape architect to ever say that. So that themed entertainment is pretty ridiculous because, like I said, you basically have a creative team that's kind of steering you in the way, and they don't want to hear your creative solutions. So if you ever thought themed entertainment was this magical thing, but all right, so let's do an exercise. I know one person doesn't have her notebook, oh, sorry, I stand corrected. She has her notebook now and a pen. So please take that out and get a blank sheet of paper. And Jen, you were a volunteer. Oh. In Korea, we do this. I need your help. So we're doing number 1. Take out a sheet of paper. Take out something to write with. I hope you guys all have something other than blood to write down something. Oh, I need to use my. And I need the volunteer / you were volunteered by the 4th year construction document class. It was you were young. Volunteer will describe the shapes that I'm going to give her. She's not going to show you. She's going to describe the shapes. You can only describe the shapes using terms like large, small, medium, and the placement of it. So you can't say like, circle or anything. The shapes and its location on the sheet of paper. The closest to the original will win a prize. I don't have a prize. I don't know. Yeah. We can think of something. I mean, I'll take you guys out to dinner. Whatever. College students need dinner. Okay. So get your pencil ready. And is going to describe this to you and show us how her skills are. We only have 5 minutes. So.
Okay, center of the page. I can say like specific shapes.
Shapes and position.
Okay. Circle, center of the page. Ovals, halfway through the circle. Ovals half to a third of the oval is shown coming out of the circle. Repeat that oval up and around the circle till you get the other side. Bottom of the circle, rectangle shapes coming out of the bottom at angles. So there's a blank isosceles triangle between them. Center of the circle, an equilateral triangle, point facing towards the rectangles. Above that triangle, circles near the ends, the points of that triangle. Circle shapes. Within those circle shapes, 2 more points.
You do this part?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Does anybody know what you just drew? Thank you, Jen. Thank you. We'll be taken after we. Anybody have an educated guess of what you just drew?
Sunflower.
Sunflower. Okay, that's good. What do you think? Okay, maybe. Anybody else? Okay, so I did that. I didn't want anybody to know what same one as last time, so I don't want to. If you knew, you knew. Anybody draw this?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so we have one winner. I mean, let's look at this one here. So I think Jen has a client here because look how great this is. Anybody know what the point of this may have been? Anybody? What do you think the point of that was?
Attention to descriptions.
Pay attention to details. That's probably good.
The importance of visual communication.
Visual communication, sure. Anybody else? So what I'm going to get in today is about how your construction documents as a whole can be interpreted in many different ways. And you might get, I don't know, I saw some really, really great ones here, like this. I don't know. So, but everybody can interpret things different ways, right? So our job is to go ahead and try to make things clear and concise, right? And put them in an order. And then hopefully the contractor will be able to understand what we have and or ask questions about what we've done so we can have the project that we envision with our client, right? So thank you, Jen. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
I'll change it up next time I come. So the devil is in the details. I did this, but I think it may have changed through the years, but you know, looks good. I like it. Now that you're finished with concepts, SD and DD, the design is just starting to become fun and creative. And I just want you guys to understand that, you know, everybody may want to do conceptual schematic design, construction detail design, construction administration, field work. Nobody says project managing, writing proposals or anything. Who likes to do conceptual schematic design? There's no wrong answer. Anybody like doing construction details? Young. Okay, so I mean, our goal is to have you guys enjoy this process because to me, I think it's the most creative part of the process. And then construction administration is taking this and making sure it gets built. And that's on you guys to make sure that it is exactly what you guys envision through your construction documents, right? So you guys may laugh at some of these. I didn't pull these. I recycled but you'd be surprised how often this stuff does happen. And it could be a matter of just a base being off. It could be a layer being frozen. You know, it could be you got an updated base, but you didn't update the base. You know, it can be so many different things where you get that kind of stuff. Now, they should usually be filtered out through the RFI request for information process by the contractor so they can get an answer. I personally, I don't even like getting RFIs. You're going to get them, but I just don't like getting RFIs. I feel like RFIs means that something is missing in my construction documents. And I hope through this process, we will nail everything that you need to know. That if you do get one, it's not the end of the world. It's a real basic one. You know, like, oh, it's in 2 plans and it's really 4 plans. Something very simple. But design-wise, I would really like for you guys to hopefully get out of this is that this process that I'm going to teach you today, if you learn this, I think you guys will be a step ahead of a lot of other people. And I have people at my office now that have 10 years, and I'm explaining this to 1 to 3 year, and they come in and go, "Wow, I didn't know that." And I said, "Well, I looked at your documents. I know you. I've seen your documents. I know." So let's get into this. So on this sheet of paper or whatever, this is a design from a previous firm. You kind of see a plaza here. Just write down a few things that you might see design-wise. I don't care about the landscape. You know, hardscape-wise, what do you see? You got a minute. This is all landscape, right? Okay. I was hoping that's interior, or, you know.
Why not take it for a bit?
Oh, I'm very bored dark. Oh. Okay. Someone want to volunteer? What do you see?
Seating,
Seating. Okay. What kind of seating?
bench seating.
Okay. Bench seating. All right. Sure. What else do you guys see? Paving. Okay. What else? Yeah. Go ahead. Turf. Okay. Yeah. Sure. And I don't know if it's artificial turf or if it's sod or seed or whatever it is. Sure. There's a big open space right there for events. What else you see? I mean, come on. I don't know. Some type of trellis feature with a column, right? And then that column is repeated onto a digital kiosk, right? There's a bench there. There's crushed granite here, so I probably need an edge for crushed granite, right? There seems to be sidewalk. I don't know what finish it is, but it looks like there could be a band next to it and some seating up, right? So what I usually do is put them into categories. So paving, site furnishings, curbs, vertical features, right? So when you're making your list, and hopefully when you guys are drawing this or putting it into CAD, you guys are thinking about what you're drawing. They're just not lines. It's either a path, it's a landscape bed, it's something that you guys are being asked to draw from the conceptual master plan, whether you drew it or not, right? Sometimes you guys don't get to draw it, but hopefully you do. And then you should be inventorying everything while you're doing that, because you're going to know best, or you're going to question the person who drew it if it didn't work while you're doing it in CAD. And that happens quite frequently, right? It's a scribble, and then when you put it in CAD, it never works. You guys make it work. And that's part of the design process. So paving types: concrete pavers, clay brick, concrete, crushed aggregate, bench, bike rack, truss receptacle. These are all what would go on my, furnishings, site furnishings list, or site furnishings, or any kind of thing that needs another number or is bought from a catalog. So you guys should go through the SD process and figure out what kind of concrete pavers, what kind of bike rack do they want? You guys do that during the SD process, right? So it's a bunch of images possibly, right? And sketches if you want to figure out something, maybe some details, hand drawn if you can. I try not to go into CAD during SD if I can. I might do the plain in SD in CAD, but for the most part, you guys are just trying to get the answers as you guys are moving on, right? So now I start the cartoon set. So I got all this stuff here, right? Now I try to figure out where does that go in my construction document set, okay? Now I call it the cartoon set. People call it storyboarding. You can call it anything you want. It could be anything. I'm just used to it being called cartoon because it's really sketchy and loose. So at that time, like I said, during your probably concept to SD, you're figuring out and sketching out. So I can't describe how much sketching and guys, like rough sketch is fine. Just understand your spaces and the relationships between other things, right? So, you know, it's 7 foot tall. You know, this is chest height, so maybe 4 feet. I'm gonna do stone, hokey stone, you know, how's that hokey stone? Is that on a poured in place wall? Is that on a CMU wall? I don't know. I'm trying to figure that all out. You know, is there a cap? All that stuff. Figure out the relationship. Do these cool sketches. Like I said, these are quick, you know, as you're drawing, designing, you should be thinking about this in 3D. You don't need to go into SketchUp. Hopefully you guys are all 3-dimensional thinkers. So now look at the plan and sketch a little bit more. So this happens right here. And now I got it in plan. Now I got what this detail is going to look like. Still hand drawn, still understanding. It's just the next level, right? So I may be a DD now because I'm one step away from getting into construction documents, right? So DD to me is probably about 30%. Okay. Different people do different things. Oh, SD is 30%, DD 60%. Depends on your submittal. So some clients will be like, oh, I don't got a lot of money. So I'm going to do concept. I'll do DD 50 and 100. Okay. Or typically you do, if you got a loaded, you know, client, you'll do concept, SD, DD, 60%, 90%, 100% permit, you know, like, but each submittal is money. I don't care how much you don't do between 90 and 100, it's money. You have to make the sheets. You have to further the design. So if you're trying to keep your costs down, you probably have less submittals. You take more risk, right? So you need all those questions answered as soon as you can. So point of this is that we had a space that was the Broward County Convention Center, which they're building right now. It's huge. So they're putting an Omni there. They're redoing a bunch of stuff. But there was, we were putting a lot of elevation change in there because the seawater level was going to flood the plaza. So we had to raise buildings up to a certain level. So we had to figure that out. We got the Stantec, you know, whatever, sea level rise specialist in there to do wave stuff and all of this cool things that I don't know. But we had to figure out all these details. How does it survive if it's inundated with water, all that kind of stuff. But you can see there's some little details here that we're starting to think about what does a railing look like. Is the wall going to be the same height around, or is it going to be 6 inches off the stairs? Those are what you start thinking about in these sketches. Now, what I've done here is, what I do is I write those down, right? So I did it beforehand on the computer, but you know, I'm in there paving, writing all my paving types, right? So I got 4-inch concrete, 8-inch concrete, concrete, everything. Cobblestone pavers, you know, vehicular. So I might have a vehicular rated one, and then I might have a pedestrian rated one. So get all your inventory of everything that's in your plans. Get it all. Doesn't even matter. You might not use it. You might repeat. Get it all down at this point. So write all the elements down. Description. I said horizontal on this one, and then I have a vertical one. So okay, I have walls. I have maybe it depends on what you want to call a wall. You know, I might have ribbon curve, I might have a 6-inch curve, I might have 18-inch ribbon curve, 6-inch ribbon curve, blah, 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 18 inches deep, 12 inches. You can have all that stuff to start thinking about that and what that means, right? So, seat wall adjacent to 8-inch concrete, seat wall, 18-inch height. So start figuring this all out, right? Under your headers, because usually what you're gonna do is on your finish schedule, you're gonna have like paving. You got PO1, PO2, PO3, and the more you know now, the less you have to change later. So the problem is when you don't think it out, you're just like, you have all your sheets set up and it's like, oh shoot, I forgot this paving. Now all my details are all messed up, right? It's like, oh crap. Figure out where you need more detail. So I usually go in here and I just double check myself. So I have a section here, a section there. Where are all my sections? Do I have sections that are already in the detail library? Do I have that or not? If you do, that's great. That's a start. It's never finished. You should read over it, change what you need to, save it out, never do it to the original one. Get in there and get your inventory of what you have and what you might need to create. So I've gone in here on this plan and said, okay, well, this section is going to go there. Now I have this many different types of steps. I have a section of every kind of step possible, right? Cool. I have wing walls on the steps. So are those wing walls the same? Are they, like I said, are they 6 inches above? Are they all at the same level? Do they have some kind of stone cladding on it? Is it, just a concrete finish? I have no idea. This one here, figure out when to enlarge. So, I was telling the group beforehand, this is just for me to figure out crap, so I don't care what's, 100 scale, whatever. Once you guys start getting into your plans, your plans will probably more likely be at 20 scale. So civil likes to work at 30 scale because they're cheap. So they don't want to use a lot of paper, and they don't like to write. They don't have blow-ups. So if you ever look at a civil set of drawings, you'll be like, oh, this is horrible. I do these things, look at civil. But now you have this, there's a bunch of information on here, right? I'm at 20 scale. Now I got to blow it up. I'm going to 10 scale. Okay. Then you may need to blow it up more. So I'm going to call this, and now I need this detail. And now in my brain, I'm going, how's the relationship of these steps and these landings work with this paving coming down as you're going into the space? And this is where you might get into like SketchUp, right? So what are these columns? I'm going to do a camera view here looking down at the pool. And is that column too big? Is the column too small? Is it blocking my view? That's when you start getting into 3D sketching or your programs that you want to use. So what I do is, this is the inventory of what I had beforehand. I grab, I take that list that I made in taking, right? And then I go ahead and use Post-it notes. And I usually use, whatever Post-it note I can find. I try not to use the 1x2s, they're too small, but I'll do a 3x3 or whatever. And I start sketching what that detail is and calling what it is and how I'm going to get, what do I need to get out of that detail, right? Bless you. With that said, you can have text in here, like I need a precast cap. So now I'm going to take another another Post-it note and draw my precast cap. So I know I need a precast cap that's this long, this wide, this thick, all that stuff. That's when you get into this. So now I'm covering every single one of those details I just wrote down. I'm covering it because I guarantee you each one of those details probably has 3 details that are associated with it. Whether it's plan, section, a cap. I don't get into footers, but you're going to call out maybe if you have a stone finish, you're going to say, okay, well, that has a stone finish. So that goes back to the finish schedule. What stone is that? Oh, I wrote it down. I got hokey stone, right? Any questions, guys? I mean, there's a lot of stuff being thrown at you, right? Sorry. Yeah.
What do you do to refine your list of, like, you said you could have extra?
Yeah, I take a marker, I say, oh crap, and I just write it down. It's loose, right? And then I make another one of these and I'm done. Before you get to the construction documents. So even if you're in construction documents, you're at 60% or 30%, and you have your list, it's going to change. You don't want to change it at 90%. I'm changing the set right now at 90. It's killing me. Have it all worked out. 90 to 100 should be pretty simple, right? You're probably going to submit permit set at 90%, maybe at 100. Then it's a different story, but you should be at a point at 90 where you have like a GMP, a cost estimate, knowing how much it is. Can the client afford it? Oh, they can't. So we're going to go through a VE, a value engineering exercise. So I can't afford, that hokey stone. So I'm going to use something else that's off the shelf. Work on that. Get me to 90. That might happen at 100. Usually when you guys start reading your contracts, anything major after DD, that's an ad service because that's a major change. Any major change after DD, from the client, I'm giving you an ad service. I should get paid for this stuff, right? So this is very helpful. These are helpful. I'd rather draw it. This is where you guys are figuring out from those hand sketches, you guys are figuring out everything, right? And I'd rather you guys do this than copy that because I know you're thinking when you do this. That's when you come to me and you say, hey man, I got my cartoon set done. Okay, cool. And usually I go to a coffee shop. I go to a coffee shop, a cartoon set for a big project. I'll usually go and I'll have my LD with me and we'll go to a coffee shop together. They'll buy me coffee And then food, drive. Sorry. So I will have the LD sit across from me and I will start spitting out the details that I have. She or he will make a list. I'll spit out the details. You're drawing it, and then I'll tell you, we'll together figure out what details we need after that. This time I'm helping you, right? So I probably say I can spit one out 4 hours. You know, I can know the whole project in 4 hours. Maybe depending if the coffee shop's busy, you know, whatever. Could take me a day. But I go to a coffee shop, put some headphones in, have it all laid out, and I'm just enjoy it, man. It's a fun process. You'd be surprised how much you learn during that. Now I take those things and I start laying out how do I get to plan and detail to detail, right? So I'm at 20 scale on my plan views. I'm going to 10 scale. So first thing I do is I have all my enlargements after my 20 scale plans. I'm going big to small, so 20 to 10. So you may have a sheet full of tons of 10 scale blowups. You have to make a decision. I've had projects where I've been like, holy crap, man, I'm 10 scaling everything. Why don't I just do 10 scale? And that's fine. It may make more sense and may be easier to read, opposed to having callouts for 10 scale when basically there's only a teeny spot that's 20 scale. So I'm in here, now I'm making, and you should be doing this during that process too. So how do I get there? What is this? Plinth 3, holy cow, I had 3 plinths. My old boss liked plinths, I don't know. So, you know, on concrete, on 8-inch concrete. So now I go here, and then where's that plinth? You know, plinth 3 is here. This is how it is. Just these things take me, if you're spending more than 5 minutes, then you're spending way too much time. You're gonna be at the coffee shop all night, which is not bad. I'm just saying, you know, your boss might not like that. But 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Once you start getting used to this and you start understanding, that's why I'm saying that this process is fun. It challenges you. Spit them out. Yeah, I'm going to pin this down. I'm going to rebar in there. You know, I'm going to put a rat slab under there. What do I need for that rat slab? All that kind of stuff. Yes. How do the pavers work with that? You know, what's the distance there? How wide is that? All that stuff. You're kind of just sketching out. You can still work it out, right? But you could just, I mean, these are just plinths. Holy cow, I have 5 plinths. But I probably still have more details that were associated with just these 5 million plinths. Holy cow. Okay, so anybody questions about this process here? This is the fun part for me. Once you guys set this up, then if you come up with another paver, then you start moving stuff around. Okay, well, maybe I just add another sheet. There's nothing wrong with white on sheets. You know, like you don't have to have a grid that's, you know, you don't have to fit 15 details. Now I do my details at 1-to-1 normally. So back in the day, you know, I'd run blueprints. So you probably wanted to have detail sheets or sheets in general that were very efficient because you had to run a blueprint, you know, smell the ammonia, whatever, all that stuff. And that costs money, right? It's all digital now. So your sheet can be 36 by 48. You know, people like 22 by 34 because it's true 11 by 17. You know, yeah, I think I'm right? Yes. So that's a trend. So, you know, just right in there, true half size, 11 by 17, blah, blah, blah. But this is when you guys can start moving stuff around. And I'm not saying you'll never have extra details. I'm just saying this is a great time to do it because, you know, I have 7 sheets of this with all my post notes. Now, if I decide, hey, you know, I don't want to cram or I don't want to move around another one, there's nothing wrong with having an extra sheet with a couple plinths on there. No big deal. Okay, so how to label once. Now, I talked about this in some of the classes that I kind of was in earlier. So to me, the goal is to, now on plan sheets, you should label everything once on each plan sheet. And if you have more than one, then you could say typical of this many of them, right? So you're trying to make your construction documents not muddy, full of, and I hate it when I've had people put their tags right on the design element. Get a leader out there, get it away from it so it can breathe, right? So I can see it. So here's my finished schedule, right? I got my 20 scale plan, I got my enlargements, and I got my details that I just on my post-it notes, right? Now I'm at this point. So I need to go from 20, this little call out gets me to this. And now you have to decide, how do I go somewhere else? And when you go somewhere else, I like to say that you go in a big circle. So somewhere, I'm gonna have to get back to the plan, right? You can't read this, but it says, see hardscape plan for locations, finishes, and blah, blah, blah. So this will get me back to the plan so I know it's certain, okay? Don't end it, just get them back to the plan somehow. Because you're not gonna tell them every location where that happens, right? It's, go back to the plan, see where it is, it's there, that looks like paving right there. I got it called out on this side here, and I say poly, comma, typical. It's a hatch pattern. Okay, so this guy gets me to here. I have a section that gets me to here. This gets me, I think that's a rectangular box that gets me back to that. Now, because people don't know a lot of stuff, sometimes they were going, you can go from here to here, but get me to here. That's up to you. I don't like that way, but I've done it on my last project because I was already at 90% and I couldn't do anything else. So see this for the photo, because I usually have a photo of the bench, and see this for the detail. I hate that. That means there wasn't a lot of planning. Okay. Gee, anything on this? Nope. Great. I can't wait to see you guys do this after this class. You have to have a piece of paper and a pen. All right. So your CEDs matter. Take your time. So during lunch, I was discussing about, you go up to your project manager, hey, Jimmy Bob, I got this cool project for you to work on. Okay, cool. What's project number? How much time do I have? Can I see the contract? All that stuff. You should just get to know the project, right? So then you should know how much time. Then you can start thinking about, if the project manager doesn't give you, like the first couple times, the project manager will probably say, hey, look, you got 30 hours to do this. Okay. I got $3,000, you cost me $100. You have how much time? So now I got to start thinking, okay, John, I know that it's going to take me a lot longer. I'm going to need your help. Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about this, right? So usually they won't be a stickler, especially when you're 1 to 5 years, 1 to 3 years when you're inexpensive. I can't do it. But when you're inexpensive, you probably don't have a lot of time restraints, right? There's probably a deadline. You may have to work a little bit late. You may get it done a little bit early. You can go home. Depends on your PM. Think it out. What skill do we really need? So at 60%, this is what I got. And I was just like, crap, what did I get myself into? I got a 10-year guy here. I got a bunch of kids, and no one ever taught them anything. No one mentored. So that's what I was talking about lunch. Understand who you're learning from, right? Whether it's a principal, whether it's me as a senior designer, or somebody else. Understand who you're going to learn from. Because if you want to learn this, you can go anywhere. If you want to learn this, you got to ask the question. Okay? What's tell me? What do you see the difference between the 60% and 100%? Doesn't matter. You guys can shout it out. You guys like 60%? Yeah, go ahead.
Leader ankles.
Ooh.
It's a lot straighter.
Yeah. So what does that do for you?
Much easier to read.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What?
Easier to read.
Oh yeah. What about the leaders? So talk about the leaders.
Well, I mean, for starters, there's one that's connecting the three of the same thing.
Ooh.
It's called tip.
Typical of 3, right? Yep. They're all in a straight line. I do guidelines on the plot. Sometimes I mess up and they print, and I'm like, oh crap. But for the most part, I would like to have more room on this plan. If I were to do it over again, I probably would have taken this. So this actually is down here. So this plaza was a lot further down. I would probably have 2 separate sheets. It's just too cramped. And I would probably would pull these leaders outside of that, and these leaders over there, and these leaders out of the design. Right? I just, at 60%, I didn't have any more money to do that. Too much money to do that. So yes, so straight lines, I've tried to do straight if I can. if I do an angle, I do at the same angle. It's not that difficult. Do it at the same angle. It looks really good, you know. Easier to read. It just opens up the design a little bit more. Line weights are different, you know. So, okay. This is what I got. I got details on my plan, have details on the detail sheets. You know what I mean? Like, what the heck, you know, like this just looks a lot easier to read. You know, I got them split on either side. I might have to go in the middle sometimes because I don't want to cover up the design. But in general, this looks better than that. If you disagree, then I don't know what to tell you. You can disagree, that's fine. But get your details on a separate detail sheet. So these are random. So it's like, okay, I got an expansion joint, I got a control joint, I got a ribbon curve, I got a thicker ribbon curve. Why aren't they on a set of detail sheets? This is still part of that 60%. So I'm pulling my hair out. I just got some gray. Just no thought. Now we used a manufacturer and they were going to sign and seal the drawings. So we did design development. Trend these days seems to be that we're going to take it to a design development part level, and then we're going to throw it on the contractor. I try not to do that personally. I like to figure it out and then give the contractor as much information. You can still submit shop drawings to me to be approved by owner's representative, but I'd like to have more control of the design. They did all the design. This is a buddy of mine. He owns a company, but still, I want to have that control. This is mine. So I have my blow ups. Usually, so there's two different ways to think about it. Back in the day, we would do high to low and then finish schedule at the end. After I came back from Korea, then we started putting finish schedule in the front, and then we would go low and bunch common features together, like the trellis would be all together on a sheet. Okay. But I would probably go low. These are the details that are typically the brainless ones, because I'll just grab those, read over it. Maybe they change a little bit, but essentially these details here, that sheet should be done. So I could concentrate on this detail right here, right? This is the fun, and whatever. But these usually do need a little bit of work, but for the most part, your company that you go to will probably have these details. Now, what do you like about this sheet, man? What about this sheet?
I mean, it's nice that it's all lined up, right?
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah. Like that? Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I do too. Opposed to this, you know, like, whatever. I'll throw this guy here, whatever. Yeah. This goes back to, you know, your sheet should read, think about it. Yeah. Do I draw a line here and a line here in the grid? Sure. Am I that bad that I have a line that runs here and I line up my details? That's a little extreme. You don't have to get that extreme, but I go to that extreme. But they're all in the line, and I guarantee you, if you went to this detail, there's lines in there. I dimension on the left and at the bottom, and you write your, I guess, verbiage on the right-hand side. Same angle, straight if you can. That's what I do on all of them. So that's my style. That's old school style. You know, when Terry was with her T-square, you know, and her pins and stuff, that's what you would do. You know, they'll be very appreciated if you did that. It was just the way it was done back in the day, and it just looks great and professional, and it reads really easy. If you start clicking and doing, you know, lines and all that stuff, it just will start getting confusing, and you won't know what you're actually going to with your leader. So flat. Okay, now we got a root vault here. Okay, cool. Now I'm going vertical. This is all one thing. So I kind of explained it in the construction document class. This column here is there's my plan. I'm laying out my sheet. Looks great, right? Here's my plan. Here's the precast cap for that plan. This is a very difficult detail. I have my elevation, and then from this, I'll take you to this. So I'm only doing it one time. If you are detailing anything outside of the left, Over here, if you have text over here, then you need another detail. And we're PDF, so make as many details as you want. We had a double and a single, so I'm telling you to go back to that column, right? I'm laying it out, blah, blah, blah. This is better, and I enjoy this more than just having some manufacturer give me a SketchUp model that they have. I will do this. This is a very complicated thing. I don't want to be on the hook for this, so I'll copy your detail that you gave me. You can get sued, not me. Okay, labeling is an art, right? So I've kind of already talked about that. Line weights are an art too. I'll screen back everything. It depends on who you're working with. So if I have civil as GAI has civil in-house, I never touch their base. You never touch anybody's base. But if I have civil as a third-party consultant, I destroy their base. But you have to know how you destroy it and how you replace it when you get an update, right? So if you start exploding things, just realize I have a very intense process to do that, and saving layer states, exporting layer states, bringing in layer state, all that stuff. I'll teach anybody, maybe next time. But it's a very lengthy process, but I'm guaranteed that I'll have all the line weight on there, the line types. But I usually slam civil on 50%. I might even go 30%, depends. And then I've been working on these. So I have labels for 10 scale, 20 scale. You know, I have a template for all this stuff. Oh, do not put, this is a pet peeve of mine. Nothing goes in paper space. If you put anything in paper space, my brain will explode. The only thing that goes in paper space will be the title block and anything associated with the title block if you need it. Everything else will be in model space. Now, there's reasons that people put it in paper space is because they know that text will always be 1/8 of an inch. It's always 1/8 of an inch. And so they know they can control that in paper space. But if you have somebody that's already done it all, then you should be able to just copy that template from me and know what it is. So that goes back to text on the right, dimensions on the left, and at the bottom. This here, this needs its own detail, or you're going to start clouding this detail up too much. Commit to the very end, stay true to your design. This is a project back in the day at Gladian. I worked on this a little bit. The details for it. That's it built. Same thing. I think this is a place called Winter Garden, which is taken off in Orlando, outside of Orlando. I don't remember, but I think so. And I think that's it. Any questions? No? Terry, any questions? I think people's brains just exploded. Sorry.
Well, I'm actually really kind of curious, and I'm asking this of students at this point. How do you think this is important to what you're working on right now?
I think understanding what you're implementing and how it's actually implemented will change how you design.
That's part of it for sure. I'm really speaking about in this, I'm speaking about how the layout of your construction documents is really a blueprint to baking a cake almost. You know what I mean? Like things are in specific order, however you put them in, or however some people have gone to the extreme where they go and say, well, irrigation should be the first sheets in your set. Typically it's my last sheet because it's going to go in first, whatever. You know what I mean? But start thinking about, you don't have to get to that extreme, but it's the process of how you group things together and thinking about each one of the details and how it works, which is, I mean, like I said, this is exciting to me. And I guarantee you detailing will get your designs a lot better. Anybody else want to answer Terry's question?
Like at any stage of the design, the process that you showed, the sticky notes and the quick drawings, as it relates to construction documents, but also concepting and sort of initial detail planning, whatever at any stage.
Sure.
That sort of part you lay out.
It's gonna help your design because you're probably gonna go into 3D at some point if you have it in your brain. So you might need that to go into 3D. And I guarantee you, your client can't go to 3D. Guarantee. Oh, yes.
Helps you be specific so that your design gets built how you're actually wanting it to be realized, because you know contractors will take creative liberties if it's not specific enough, and it can really affect the quality.
It can. Hopefully your contractor will submit an RFI if they don't know anything or they have a question about it. They rarely would risk me telling them they have to tear it down and redo it. But you have that power. You do it. If you specifically said it in your construction documents, you have every right to have them rip it out. You don't do that in the process. You do that officially and stuff. Probably should go through some proper stuff to make sure that the client may say, oh, that actually is okay. I don't have the money. Or the contractor would pay for it. You know, I don't have the time. Last time I had more teachers asking me questions than anything.
Well, one of the reasons that I asked the question, and I think it's really unfortunate that more of the fifth year students didn't attend today. And so I would just offer this out to the rest of you. So the seniors are doing their substantial presentations Monday and Wednesday after break. And you saw their presentations last week, and they had master plans with placeholders for the design of things, but very little design of things. And so the site design is actually quite, kind of an interesting part there. And where your work is, I see on your desks, is there's a lot of the master plan. Where is it that you actually do the site design that you could actually do these design details from? And there's a step in between that really have to get to. So those are back one. Those drawings right there are what we are not seeing in a lot of the fifth year work right now, which is necessary for a lot of the work that they need to present in just 2 weeks.
This is the fun stuff. I mean, you have to know your details. You have to understand the space that you're creating and the relationships. But you ask anybody, they want to draw this. You know, that's what they want. They want to, I'm going to put this big crab there. You know, that's what they want to do. That's the creative part. If you ever want to get a theme design, that's what creative is, you know? I mean, I don't know if you have to get to this extreme, but this is very helpful in the process as well. You know, like little vignettes showing you where this is happening, a little sketch here, and understand that space. We're creating spaces, right? I mean, we want people to be in our spaces. If the space doesn't work, no one will ever go. So these are the type of kind of things that you got to get your materials right, you got to get shade right, you got to get relationships right. You know, if it's uncomfortable, you should probably figure that out pretty quickly. And if you have to go to 3D, then go to 3D. Your client wants to see this because you're selling a plan view to them. They want to see this. And if you can do it by hand, that's great. If you have to do it in Revit or do it in some kind of 3-dimensional program, then that's fine. But you still have to understand it to put it in there, right? Any questions?
Quick question.
Sure, you can have one.
So, as I mentioned earlier, you guys have like many different libraries. But sometimes if you need to have like a creative detail design, maybe there is no kind of like color or or anything.
Right.
In that case, maybe sometimes some structure wall, maybe something like we need to have guaranteed kind of like structure and linear kind of like things, and how you can actually manage those things with the civil engineer. So once you have like a library, which means it's guaranteed, right? So you don't need to worry about any kind of like problems, especially like structural stability. But when you try to something like a new one or creative things,
Right.
then we need to have like a check those like a visibility of the construction, right? In that case, how did you deal with that? Especially you have like running out your time to meet the like project deadline and
Right.
this one.
So usually I'll have a structural engineer on board, and because it depends on how you want to operate. I was just talking about this the other day. I have not sent a hand sketch to a structural engineer and asked them to put rebar in it in a very long time. I will take this wall here, and if it needs to be doubled, I will start with that detail there. I will take my best educated guess on the overlap, the rebar on center, how, all that stuff, the size of the rebar. I will take my best stab at it. I'll send it to my structural engineer, and now I just saved a lot of money because he's just marking it up, and then I'll make changes, send it back. You are okay with that? Done. But I will start with the detail that has already, you probably have a detail that has structural stuff in it. We've also done it where we throw it on the contractor to submit signed and sealed structural engineering drawings. If you're tight on a budget, you can throw it on the contractor. I don't like doing that because I like to figure that stuff out, but you probably have this somewhere in a library or somewhere from a different firm that you came from. Or you could probably figure this one out. I mean, we should be able to do that.
The reason why I asked you this question is that sometimes maybe due to the like project deadline, we should like compromise our creativity. Since if we want to try to new, then maybe once you change the detailed design, then we should think about the specification and cost estimation. All are actually linked with it. Then it could take some like 2 times, 3 times more. So how you can actually manage that if you do have like a very limited timeline?
I don't know. That's a tough one. You should probably be vetting it out as you go along. So most projects will have contractors. You can have cost estimators associated. I've been lately having cost estimators as part of my proposals because the prices of things have changed drastically, and I want somebody to always have someone to blame. I mean, you can blame me, but always have someone to blame, right? That's rule number 5. Have someone to blame. So I'm going to blame the contractor if the numbers wrong. But usually at each submittal lately, there will be a cost estimation at that point, and something will get beamed out. So it's part of that process. I write the proposal. I should know how much time it takes me to do these construction documents, and I should know how much time it takes you to do the construction documents and how cheap you are. And that's part of me writing the proposal. So once you guys start getting used to this, you guys will know that when you tell me, man, it's gonna take me 2 hours, it's gonna take me 8 hours. It's gonna take me 8 hours. Don't need to lie to me. Let's be realistic here. You don't need to show off. I'll give you 8 hours. If you get it done earlier, that's great. But you guys will start knowing how long it takes stuff. I know how long it takes. I can make tons of money doing construction documents. Okay. Like I said, last time I had more teacher questions than anything. You want to draw again, Jen? Or you want to? No. I hope you guys understand how important that was. I mean, like, heck, I got one person that drew a turkey. I don't know what you drew. That one turkey. But that's what I'm talking about. There's always room for interpretation, and we're trying to limit that, right?
How do you manage the relationship with a structural engineer who perhaps tends to default to over-design or the safest, cheapest, most standardized way possible, when you may have a really strong concept behind, say, that structure, and they're kind of trending to defaulting towards the.
Well, that's why I control it by doing it myself and sending them something to mark up.
Okay.
I control the design. I want this. If you give it to them, they will make it work how they want to work. I tend to be an over-designer a little bit. I don't mind doing that as long as it's not like excessive. So I'm not putting 8-inch concrete when it needs to be 4-inch. But the worst thing we could do is get sued, right? I'm going to blame the structural engineer, right? Always have someone to blame. Always have someone. That's it. Always have someone to blame. But I take control. I give them I give them this. I control that. You just check it off, tell me it's good, send me an email, got it in writing, you're in trouble. Anybody else? Did you have something?
First start, when you're thinking about concepts, when do you first start detailing?
I'm sorry, when I start
When
thinking,
do you first start detailing?
Uh-huh.
Like in the design process, as you're thinking about concepts,
oh yeah, 100%.
you start that sketching right
You guys-
away, right?
If you guys get good, you are drawing a line with a pen, you know what you're drawing. That's what I'm saying. Then you will draw it correctly and you'll know what you're drawing. I had somebody who came to me, showed me a great portfolio, did a lot of conceptual work in China, whatever the case, master plans. She had 10 years experience. We were doing a new project down in Clearwater called Imagine Clearwater, or it's called something else. You guys can look at that. It's awesome. And she was putting some hand sketches into CAD, and it was all just like, what are you doing? You know, the radiuses weren't whole numbers, circles weren't tangent. And I could just look at it and go, what is this? And she's presenting. She's like, oh, I'll do it later. You know, I just want to get something quick. Quick takes you no more time. You know what you're doing? Takes you no more time to draw a correct thing than it does or incorrect thing. That's why another rule, do it right the first time. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't have to be perfect, but drafting wise, you should do it right the first time. Think about it. I had a building just the other day. Why didn't you put the building 5 feet off of the sidewalk? Why is it 4.42? It's an offset. You know, that's do it right the first time. So the best case scenario is that you have the concept plan. I just paid you to put it in the CAD for me. It gets approved by the client, and now I got to redraw it. I just paid you to draw it. Why am I paying? He loved it, but it's all wrong. So now what am I going to do? Double the time, right? So just draw it right the first time. Maybe they don't like it. It's okay. Not a big deal. But when you watch me draft, it's like a symphony. Like I'm just like, you know, like I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? You guys will get there one day. I used to always say, okay, man, I wish I could just take that piece of your brain and put it into my head and I could just draft like, you know? When you guys get there, you will understand. And you'll be like, dang, I get it now. Like I'm just pumping some CAD and it's all correct and it's just making sense. You guys will get there one day. It's awesome. You want to get there. You want to. All right. I'm telling you, CAD's math. Can't tell you whatever triangle you were saying or whatever, but you know, I can figure it out. What else, guys? I got a few more minutes or whatever. Like Terry's gonna kick me out soon. Yeah.
Were there any designs in Korea that you would notice that like weren't as popular in America that you kind of brought back to America?
So I was laid off in 2009. But I don't like to say I don't. Experience is subjective, right? So I graduated in 1999. I feel like I have 25, 26 years experience, but I probably only have 20 on paper. It goes back to the passion. So I'm walking around Korea and I'm going, man, there's no handrails or nothing. How do they get away with this stuff? You know, like where's the Korean ADA? This is like 1970, you know, this fountains that are over 30-inch drop with no handrails. 5%, what is that? You know, like there's no handicapped people anymore in Korea. You know, like I mean, they're in the subway with no legs on a skateboard. You know, like there's really nobody. But I think my biggest takeaway is that the Korean design and the spaces were way cooler than I thought. And it was kind of like designing for Legoland. If you ever design with Legoland, like I said beforehand, you won't have a lot of control over that. I mean, I gave them designs, you know, yeah. But what is cool about Legoland is that any design that you give them or they come up with, this is their priority. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I never thought about that because I'm never thinking about my kid, you know, enjoying everything's kid size. You know, like that's their thing, you know, hey, where's the kid door? Korea's kind of that way to me, you know, like Korea was kind of like just free in their design, you know, like the Cheongcheon Canal is like awesome. That was probably just finished right about the time I went over there. I think it was done in 2008. I got there in 2009 and that was like the first project I saw. I mean, like the ecosystem, you know, in the middle of a city that used to be a, you know, a bisected soul and it was a super highway. I mean, that's awesome. You know, how many people enjoy that? You know what I mean? But there's no handrails. I mean, like they got brick. I don't get it. So I think the freedom of Korea was pretty cool. Don't get caught one day, but you know, I'll be in a wheelchair suing, you know, Korea. Get my pension. You had a question?
Yeah, I was kind of just wondering how you kind of developed your ideology on the sections. Like, was it just you did it so often you kind of figured out?
I'm pretty, you know, like laser that thing in the middle. I mean, that's it. I don't really think too much. I mean, like you can do sections many different ways, but guidelines and stuff like that. But I a lot of the stairs and all that kind of stuff, they're basic details that I've just butchered up. I mean, there's rules, but sections, they're fun. I mean, like sections to me are like, what are they? Put lipstick on a pig, but whatever. Inside is what matters, you know. So, I bore you guys to death. You guys learn anything? Yeah. I heard last time, you know, like people come in here and they're like, "My company is the greatest company." You know, like this is, you know, it doesn't matter who I work for, what projects I work on. It's the same process for 7-Eleven as Disney Springs, as you know, anything resort, 5-star resort. They're all the same process that I have. But I will tell you this: if you guys understand this here, no one's ever going to tell you this sucks or they can't understand this. This is what I do. But I tell you, if you showed this and the alternative is that, I go into interviews and I say, show me a set of your construction documents. That's what I say. You guys can't say. But what I say is I usually have them bring me a set of their construction documents and I'm going to decide if I want to work with them. I've butchered some clients before just trying to get a job. Or just like, you want to know what I really did? I didn't get the job, but you know, it was fun. But this thinking and this level of detail, I guarantee you, if you could start mastering it and getting it to a level that's quick and efficient, just like doing 3 concepts, you know, you can do that, you're gonna excel so high and you'll never have to ask for a raise. You're never gonna have to ask. You may not want to do this, but you can do it and you do it efficiently, but you'll start understanding this is kind of fun. It's a puzzle, right? You're making the kit of parts to put together the concept that you made when you guys get to that level. If you do it all, you're worth so much money, or you know, just as a designer or landscape architect. I guarantee you that. Get your landscape tags correctly, it'll look great. Yeah, I got to Disney Springs. I tagged my thing, you know, like I'm done. My boss was just like, everyone come over here and look at this. Yeah, look at that. And he said, this is how we should be doing it. And I swear to you, it didn't happen because they didn't care. They didn't care. I can tell you right now, I can go to my Disney Springs construction documents and I know when a particular person who's running land design touched my detail. Because it was what he did, he didn't care. It was just fast. I gotta go fast. And I can tell you where it is because it's not lined up on the right side. Dimensions are everywhere. And I can say, you touched my detail and messed it up. You know, I can tell you that because that's my style. Every style. You can make a style out of this. You can style. Maybe it's you do something cooler than this. Always hand draw though. This should all be hand drawn though. Guys, start hand drawing. Go straight to pen. Anything else, guys? I appreciate your time, and hopefully I'll be invited back at some point.
Thank you, John.
Hey.